Readers have been screaming to boycott Amazon for as long as I've been in this online bookish space. That's about 2 years now. It always seems like a thing that's happening, but not quite. Amazon remains the largest bookseller in the country, and I want to talk about why. My name is Joanna Kimber. I am an indie author, asterisk on the indie. This year, Amazon will turn 31 years old. What's now the largest e-commerce platform in the world started out as an online bookstore. Cute. Pretty quickly, Amazon started to do things like purchasing smaller companies, anything from grocery stores to robotics. Remember when Whole Foods wasn't owned by Amazon? I remember when the news broke that they were purchasing Whole Foods, and I was like, oh no. Oh no. Amazon was always innovative. They were also innovative in their tax evasion. For nearly 2 decades, Amazon skirted sales tax through legal loopholes. According to the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policies, in 2021, Amazon avoided paying $5.2 billion in federal taxes. Keep in mind that 2 years after Massachusetts put a 4% surtax on people in the state who were earning more than $1 million yearly, the state generated a $5.2 billion windfall, and that money has gone towards transportation and education in the States. So I want you to think about companies like Amazon who don't pay taxes as they are supposed to, and how beneficial to the people of the country those taxes would be. Think about how much you have to pay out of your check. Okay, Amazon also nearly put Barnes and Noble out of business a couple years ago, and is the biggest threat to indie bookstores right now. Amazon is the big bad bookstore. And I'm telling you all of this because I'm about to give Amazon a lot of credit. Credit that I think is important to understand when we talk about why people are not boycotting Amazon and why they remain the #1 bookstore in America. Amazon makes majority of their money from listing fees and subscription services. They actually historically lose a lot of money on their tech products like the Kindle. And when I say a lot of money, I mean that between 2017 and 2021, Amazon reported losing around $25 billion on their tech products. See, Amazon has always and will probably always play the long game. Back in 2004, Steve Jobs had invited Jeff Bezos and a couple other big tech execs out to lunch. During that lunch, he showed them the iTunes software that was about to launch on Windows. Steve had this idea that, okay, yes, the iPod was a thing that was taking the world by storm, but you could only purchase songs from iTunes if you owned a Mac computer, which at the time, majority of households that own a computer did not own a Mac. Putting iTunes on Windows allowed people who don't have Mac to purchase music from the iTunes store. He was convinced that this was going to basically destroy the CD game and revolutionize the music industry. Stevie baby, you had no idea how true that was going to be, did you? See, he told Jeff Bezos that, hey, Amazon could still sell CDs as like collector's items. You know, Amazon could become an antique store. He was being shady, okay? It was a power move. While everyone else was trying to copy Steve and Apple as fast as they could so they didn't get left behind in the market, Jeff decided to take a page out of Steve's book, no pun intended. Amazon's digital media company started with an ebook team of around 5 people, launching a really cool search inside the book feature. Sound familiar? Did you know in the beginning, ebooks were priced the same as hardcovers? Mind you, this is like early 2000s. We didn't even have the smartphone yet. We were beating Nokia fridges. So remember in my last video where I said a lot of things in the publishing industry, they're just new to a lot of people who are new to the publishing industry? This is one of those things. People frequently complain about the price of ebooks being equal to or more than paperbacks. Can you imagine in the year 2004 purchasing an ebook that you could only read on your computer because we didn't have tablets, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have e-readers yet? Can you imagine paying like $20 to $50 for that? Insane. Anyway, Jeff had this philosophy, right? You identify what the customer needs and then you work backwards from that. People don't have an easy, convenient way to purchase and read ebooks. They decided they could do two things. They could either start producing the content themselves, or they could do what they were doing with the rest of the company, which is collecting the goods, providing one convenient, affordable place for people to purchase those goods, and then ship them directly to the customer for little to no cost and pretty quickly. So following the iTunes iPod model, Amazon created a device and an app that allows you to purchase every book ever published at a fraction of the cost. Jeff Bezos decided that Amazon was going to reinvent the book, and they did. When the Kindle launched in 2007, it sold out in 6 hours. I remember being in my teens, right? I remember being in my teens and like coming to America for like the holidays during the summertime or whatever. And I remember seeing people with Kindles and being like, oh my gosh, that is hot. Like, that is so chic. I was always destined to be an e-reader girl. They did the damn thing, okay? Like, props where props are due. Yes, big bag book company, but props where props are due. 7 years later, Amazon did it again. In 2014, they launched Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is a service that you pay a monthly subscription for, and you basically have an unlimited amount of books that you can read. The name is pretty self-explanatory. And okay, so you can download 20 books at a time, but let's say you want to read a 21st book of the month. All you have to do is return one of the previous copies. So it's essentially like a paid library service. 10 years later, Amazon reported that over 3 million books had been read through Kindle Unlimited. That was in 2024. And at that time, Amazon reported paying $3.5 billion to self-published authors who were enrolled in KDP Select, which is Kindle Unlimited. This sounds wonderful, right? This sounds great for self-published authors. And in many ways, it is. But we don't know how much Amazon is really making off of Kindle Unlimited subscription payments. So it's kind of hard to tell how much that really cost them to pay that much. I will tell you as an author, the cost of a Kindle Unlimited page read, $0 and 0.005 cents. So a fraction of a cent per page. How we get paid is through the KDP Global Fund, which is essentially like a large bucket that everyone who is enrolled in KDP Select gets paid from. In December, I believe it was reported to be like $61 million. It is estimated that over 5 million readers are paying Kindle Unlimited subscription each month. So let's do some quick math. 5 million times 12 is 60 million. 12 because it's $11.99 for a Kindle Unlimited subscription. So each month, Kindle allegedly rakes in $60 million in subscription fees from Kindle Unlimited. 60 million times 12 months in a year is 720 million. So yearly, that's $720 million that Amazon allegedly is earning from Kindle Unlimited subscription payments. So if we take that $61 million bucket and divide it by 720 million, we get less than 10%. So Amazon is sharing less than 10% of the KDP Select or Kindle Unlimited subscription payments with their self-published authors. Again, big bad bookstore. Let me give you some additional perspective, okay? All my books are in Kindle Unlimited. I have 5 books out right now. You can tell how many Kindle pages are in a single copy of your book in your Amazon author dashboard KDP select thingy, right? So for my last book, How to Melt a Snowflake, for example, pretty short book, right? There are 277 Kindle page reads in this book. So based on how many page reads I got last month in that book alone, I sold or would have sold about 480 ebooks if I had actually sold copies of ebooks instead of getting Kindle page reads. At $5 per ebook, I would have earned basically 3 times more if I had sold that many ebooks than I did from my books being in Kindle Unlimited. If authors could make more money by just selling copies of their ebooks, why do we go to Kindle Unlimited? The whole allure of Kindle Unlimited is that readers get to read your book on their end for basically free. So if you see an author that you've never heard of before, or you come across a book that looks interesting on social media, if it's in Kindle Unlimited, there's no risk of you actually downloading it and giving it a try. Versus if you do spend $5, $6, $7 on an ebook from a new author that you never heard of and it's trash, you might feel a little bit of a way about that. Kindle Unlimited gives indie authors access to a market that we otherwise would not have access to. People who have Kindle Unlimited typically don't have a lot of money to be buying several ebooks in a month. So that $12 being split amongst 20 plus ebooks in a month, it makes a lot more sense for them. A lot of independent authors report Kindle Unlimited earnings being majority of their income. Even authors who are still wide, meaning their books are distributed on all platforms that sell ebooks, because that's the thing with Kindle Unlimited. If your book is in Kindle Unlimited as an author, you are not allowed to sell your book on any other platform or distribute it in any kind of way, or else Amazon might terminate your account. And again, where most of your income is coming from Amazon, you're not going to risk that. But again, even authors who try to go wide report that still the number I see floating around is like an average of 70% of their sales still come from the Amazon bookstore. Amazon has allowed indie authors to become career authors without relying on the support of a traditional publisher. And for marginalized authors, that's extremely important because, as I said in previous videos and will continue to say, traditional publishing is inherently racist. They're racist down to the people that they hire to run the back end, to the authors of the books that they choose to publish. I actually just wrote a Substack essay that kind of talks about this revolutionary act of being Black and fictional. You should give it a read. Either way, Amazon has given a lot of indie authors the power to publish books without having to go through a gatekeeper. Also, Amazon has some of the best royalty structures for independent authors. It costs nothing for us to put our book on the Amazon platform, and the print cost is pretty low considering the print quality is quite trash. I'm not gonna lie, but it's pretty low. So you are able to set your books at competitive prices that you aren't able to at other places. Even for me, when I print using a third party with much better print quality, the print cost per book is way higher. Then I also have to pay for shipping to me and then shipping to the customer. So putting my books on Amazon allows me to make the most money and allows a reader to save the most money. And that is usually the case for a lot of other authors as well. But it's not just ebooks. Last year, Amazon accounted for 50% of all new print book sales, even despite Barnes and Noble's recent resurgence. Amazon has had a foothold on the book industry. That's not going to just go away by yelling, boycott Amazon occasionally in a TikTok. Given all this context, right, you may be understanding why the average reader refuses to let go of purchasing books through Amazon. Physical bookstores are also typically limited in the inventory that they carry, as well as a variety of the inventory that they carry. I am personally jealous of any marginalized person that lives in a diverse area, because chances are your bookstore is going to reflect the population of your wherever you live. Where I live is predominantly white. And so walking into a bookstore on any given day and finding a good diversity of books is probably not gonna happen. That sucks, because then where do I go to buy books? You see where I'm going with this? Now, I am a crazy anti-capitalist, insufferably woke, independent author, so I probably won't be going to Amazon to purchase the books that I can't find in bookstores. I'll probably go through another independent bookseller or ask my Barnes and Noble to order the books I want for me. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say I've never purchased a book from Amazon. Okay, I'm balling on a budget just like everybody else. And if I could buy the same book for $11.99 on Amazon that Barnes and Noble is trying to charge me $19 plus tax for, where do you think I'm gonna go? Now, it's hard for me. It's hard for me. I wish I could have big bookshelves like your other favorite booktubers. And one day I'll get there. I'll step my bread up. I will. But think about the average consumer. Think about the casual reader who is not going to go out of their way to find an independent bookstore or want to deal with the inconvenience of waiting 5 to 7 business days for Barnes and Noble to get the book, and then another 5 to 7 business days to ship it to you, or you got to go back to the store just to pick it up. No, the average consumer, especially the average consumer with a Prime membership, is going to just go to Amazon and order the book from Amazon and probably get it for a cheaper price. When we talk about ebooks, it is my opinion that Amazon has the best interface for purchasing ebooks. And I primarily read ebooks. I feel pretty confident in saying that. I think the only other corporation with an ecosystem that could potentially compete with Amazon is Apple, but I don't know. Apple just decided to let Amazon have this one, I guess, because their books app needs a huge overhaul. And at first glance, it looks more convenient because one, most people these days do have an iPhone or an iPad, right? And you can go into the books app, open the bookstore, and purchase a book as easily as you can purchase any app from the App Store. And then it's right there. You don't have to go to another browser, send it to your library. None of that. It's right there, ready for you to read. But Steve Jobs did hit it on the head when he said that having a device specifically made for ebooks is necessary. For me personally, I love reading ebooks, hate reading ebooks on anything other than my e-reader. The Apple Books app only works on Apple devices. So I can download the Kindle app on my Apple device. Okay, if you have a Kindle, unless you jailbreak it, you can't download any other book app either, but you can't download Apple Books on your Kobo or your Books Go or any other e-reader device either. They only work on Apple devices. Apple, where is your e-reader? Apple, where is your e-reader? You just gonna let Amazon have the market. Like, you're not even gonna try to compete with them. And I'm not even for like another big corporation to come in or whatever, but at the end of the day, competition is one of the only ways to actually shake up the market and, put some fire under Amazon's ass. But again, other tech corporations just seem like, let's let Amazon have this one. I don't know why. Also, Apple Books have DRM. I believe Kobo Books have DRM as well. Let me look it up. DRM is digital rights management. And basically what it does is prevent you from downloading an ebook that you purchase and moving it around from device to device. It's there to help stop pirating, but a lot of readers feel that this prevents you from actually owning the media that you are purchasing and having an actual library of ebooks that you purchase. Now, last year, there was a lot of kerfuffle around Amazon applying DRM to their books and not allowing you to download your books onto another computer or whatever. I always figured that it was because of the pirating issue, but I never said anything because y'all were so up in arms. Okay, and then they gave us the option to remove DRM. Authors started complaining, talking about, oh no, they're gonna pirate my book. They was gonna pirate the book anyway, baby. I'm sorry to break it to you. But I never had a problem with the DRM thing personally. I understand why it was such a big issue. Here again, we have Amazon being innovative and allowing us to remove DRM. So now you can download books again off of your Kindle library to your computer, etc., which is cool. I support that. All the other bookstores have DRM too, and DRM is not necessarily a thing that the software applies. It's more so the publishers, again, to prevent piracy. Now both Kobo and Amazon support DRM free content, which I think is good, but Kobo, your bookstore is still lacking. Your ebook store is still lacking. The interface is just not as good as a Kindle bookstore. And that is the problem. Don't even think about downloading a book that you buy from the Apple bookstore to any other device. They're not letting you do that, baby. Also, Kindle Unlimited is that big of a deal. I find that when I come across videos that are like, please stop buying books from Amazon, it's so bad for the book industry. Whenever people say, okay, but what about Kindle Unlimited? They always brush it off. And again, I feel like this just comes from a place of privilege, because if you don't understand what it's like to not have enough money to buy all the books that you want, then you are not going to understand how serious giving up a Kindle Unlimited subscription might be for the average person. Kindle Unlimited doesn't just have self-published titles, they also have traditionally published titles as well. So even though you can borrow books from the library through the Libby app, if I have to wait 8 weeks to be next in line for that particular book that I'm in the mood to read right now, but it just so happens to be available through Kindle Unlimited and I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, Amazon was smart to make authors exclusive to Amazon through Kindle Unlimited, because it adds a level of variety that other platforms just don't have. I've seen the self-published titles that are offered on the Kobo store. Your Kobo Plus does not compare It does not. Also, again, on the author side, it's not going to be on the author to start like an exodus from Kindle Unlimited, because we are going to go wherever the reader goes. So if readers en masse start using Kobo Plus or Apple Books or whatever, that's where we're going to put the books. Amazon's near 30-year head start in the industry, it's going to be hard to beat. And for it to be beat, there needs to be genuinely good competition. Another piece of evidence for Amazon being kind of innovative, they've allowed Kindle Select authors, KDP Select authors, to now allow our books to be sold to libraries. So now the reader has the option of library and KU. So you don't really need to go to another online bookstore. They're smart. They're smart. You gotta admit it. They are evil geniuses. Other companies do have the opportunity to usurp Amazon in certain ways, though, because Amazon is not perfect. Like I said, they're greedy. Okay, they could be paying their independent authors much more, but they choose not to because they are greedy. If another online book retailer, service, whatever, wanted to create their own subscription model, but incentivize authors to move over through better payments, better bonuses, etc., 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 we might actually go there, especially if they reach out to authors who have large die-hard cult-like followers. There are plenty of indie authors who have that kind of following, who wherever they put the books, the readers are going to buy it from. It just seems that the industry still hasn't caught up to the fact that independent publishing has become such a major cornerstone of the publishing industry. Remember when Tidal came about? They had posted all these pictures and it was like Jay-Z, Kanye, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, a bunch of really big artists with huge cult-like followings. And everybody was like, what the hell is this? What is going on? Then we found out that all of those artists were going to have their catalogs exclusively on Tidal. So if you wanted to watch a new Beyonce music video, you had to have a Tidal subscription. Ooh, raise your hand if you subscribe to Tidal because of that. It worked. Okay, Tidal needed a way to break into the streaming industry, and they did. They did. What if an online book retailer had the foresight to meet up with the publishing houses? And what if there was like a Berkeley Romance or a Bloom Books deal where their entire catalog was on this ebook service platform for 99 cents each or for free? I bet you a lot of people would sign up for that service. Or what if other ebook retailer services offered indie deals to where they contract independent authors who have a certain number of sales and say, hey, we could give you a kind of an advance to create a series specifically for our platform that is exclusive to our platform. Like, because of the exclusivity clause with Amazon, there are plenty of authors who have Patreon exclusive books and series, and they're kind of doing this on a micro level. No vision. Basically, it boils down to this, right? Amazon has a 3-decade head start. That is significant. It completely innovated the ebook industry and basically invented the e-reader. Physical bookstores need to catch up even just a little bit, because the average consumer is going to choose the more convenient, more economic choice 9 times out of 10. We cannot trust people to fall back on their moral compass when it comes to buying books. Amazon takes indie authors seriously, so we are loyal to Amazon. if other platforms take indie authors seriously, we might diversify. How no indie author wants to put all their eggs in one basket. We don't want to have to rely on Amazon. It's just that there's just genuinely not another viable option right now. When Amazon is the cheapest and most convenient option for purchasing both physical and ebooks, just telling the average casual reader, that is only reading 4 to 5 books a year anyway, that they should just stop shopping on Amazon is not enough. We cannot control what corporations do, but we can make tiny steps to being as ethical as possible, especially when things are getting so dire in this country and Amazon is doing things like donating to a fascist regime. Here's what I'm doing to minimize my Amazon book purchases, because I'm not canceling Kindle Unlimited, okay? I like supporting other indie authors, and if Kindle Unlimited is a way that I can do that, I'm not gonna stop. I am practical. I'm a pragmatist. And I don't believe in hurting the little person when my individual actions probably won't put that much of a dent into the big corporation that I'm trying to stick it to. Amazon, big bad bookstore, greedy, terrible. But I am not going to be the reason why my fellow indie author has one less dollar in their pocket. I'm not. Here's what I do, okay? 1, use your local library. If there is a book that is published by a traditionally published author, request it through your local library. Download the Libby app. You can send books 9 times out of 10 from Libby directly to your Kindle if you have a Kindle e-reader. You can also download the Libby app directly to other e-readers like the Kobo or Books. If you must have an ebook trophy, like if you are a person who genuinely wants to have and maintain an ebook library, don't buy the ebook from Amazon. If it has the DRM, you can download it to your computer and use Calibre to remove the DRM. Like, you can go to Kobo on your computer, download the book, and then remove the DRM and have a copy of the book that's yours for your personal ebook library. If you're like me and you're not really so much into having an ebook library right now, I have physical trophies instead. So the cycle goes library, trophy. And of course, it goes without saying, don't buy your trophy from Amazon. The whole point is that by this time, you've already read the book, so there's no urgency. So even if you have to wait a week or 2 for the book to get to you from an independent bookstore or Barnes & Noble, it's not that bad. You already read the book. It's just a trophy. When you see authors selling books directly, whether that be ebooks or paperbacks, buy it from them. If I could count on majority of my royalties, or even an equal amount of my royalties coming from my personal website as Amazon, it wouldn't take me that much more to divest from Amazon as an indie author. You get what I'm saying? If we're going to encourage indie authors to stop selling via Amazon, we have to also support indie authors when they are not selling on Amazon. That being said, here's what I'm going to do as an indie author to diversify and divest from Amazon as much as I can. When it comes to ebooks, it's just not worth it to me to take my books out of Kindle Unlimited right now. What I will do is, instead of having them automatically refresh so that they renew their 3-month period in Kindle Unlimited, I will manually control that so that I can have small periods of time where my ebooks are available elsewhere. I'm also working on getting them uploaded into Overdrive, which is how you can request books through your library. And I plan in the future on having multiple catalogs. Some catalogs that are on Kindle Unlimited, some that are not. I'm also planning on uploading all of my books into Barnes & Noble Press so that anyone can go onto barnesandnoble.com and order a book through there as well. Whew, this was a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please like this video, subscribe to my channel. Subscribing to my mailing list is the best way to keep in touch with me. Stop buying books from Amazon. It's good for your health. See you next time. Happy reading.